Welcome to my next predictions video as UFC 308 is right around the corner on Saturday, October 26th with a 1 p.m. Central Standard Time start time for the main card due to the fact that they're in Abu Dhabi. Just going to give my predictions for the main card, and remember, as always, that the card is subject to change. Now, before I get into my predictions, though, just want to cover a few things. If you're a fan of the UFC and you like prediction videos as well as reaction videos and other things that may interest you, make sure that you help smash the like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate it. Share the video with a friend. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on my predictions for UFC 308, as well as any predictions of your own, any fights that you want to talk about, any future fight predictions that you have, and anything else UFC related. And remember, I do react to fights as well. What I'll do about an hour to an hour and a half after the main card's over with, I'll post my first reaction to UFC 308, most likely the main event, possibly the co-main event. So make sure you come back to the channel to check that out, and then I'll do one per day after that until all the reactions for UFC 308's main event have been posted. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you really don't know what you'll see next on JDev TV. Anyway, kicking things off on the main card in the middleweight division, we have a really good matchup, in my opinion, versus Shahira Magomedov, or Shahira Bullet Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. This should be a striking battle. Magomedov is amazing with kicks to the body, to the legs, and that softens you up for his striking with his hands, which is very underrated in my opinion. He's got some really powerful hands too. Petrosyan, he's okay. I mean, he's a veteran to a degree. He's, 30. I guess he's not that. He's only 33 when Magomedov is 30. I just think in this contest, with neither of the guys being guys that go for takedowns, I think Bullet is going to win this fight. Shahira Bullet Magomedov. Just because he is impressive. He's damn impressive from what I've seen from him thus far. But, Petrosyan, you never know. He might be able to pull something crazy, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And the fight is actually kind of close in terms of betting odds. So, who knows? I might be wrong with maybe I'm underrating Petrosyan at this point. And then next up in the light heavyweight division, a matchup that I've actually been looking forward to, we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. I mean, obviously we know that Ankalaev can bring a lot of striking to a fight, but he's also got that really good wrestling. But he doesn't really rely on it as much as he probably should. He tries to strike with you. He tries to be a more entertaining fighter until he gets scared or something happens in a fight. And then he goes to the wrestling. Now, Rakic is really good with kicking. He's got some good strikes. I mean, he had a war with Yuri Prochazka at his last fight at UFC 300. In my opinion, that was the fight of the night. I know everybody liked Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, but I think Prochazka versus Rakic was the fight of the night at UFC 300. I feel like the main, or Holloway and Gaethje, was a little bit more one-sided, where Rakic and Prochazka were going at it. But, I mean, we learned in the fight against Jan Blachowicz that Ankalaev had that he doesn't like leg kicks, too many of them. So if Rakic can really hurt his legs and really hurt, I just kind of said that, but if he really compromises Ankalaev's legs, as Joe Rogan would say, I think he has a chance to win. The problem is then Ankalaev is going to resort to wrestling, and nobody's really been able to stop that. His only UFC loss, or his only loss on his record, is a loss to Paul Craig with a submission. I believe it was like with a second or two left in the round, in the last round of the fight. So I'm predicting Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight and get a title shot against whoever the light heavyweight champion will be, which should be Alex Poatan Pereira, who is amazing, by the way. Chama. So I'm picking Magomed Ankalaev to win the fight. But I think Rakic has a chance. He's a good, skilled guy. Sometimes he fights a little bit boring, but in his last fight, I thought he was pretty entertaining. I hope he brings it. I hope he puts on a show, and this is a tough contest. But I just think Ankalaev has too many weapons that he can utilize. Either the striking, which is underrated, or he can just resort to wrestling, and that's how he's going to beat Alexander Rakic. And then next up in the flyweight division, the featherweight division, we have LaRon Murphy versus Dan Ige. Ige came off of a really good fight against Diego Lopez in his last fight, and LaRon Murphy just beat Edson Barbosa. This is going to be probably one of his toughest challengers because Barbosa is kind of on the twilight of his career. LaRon Murphy, he will incorporate a takedown or two here, but typically he's better on the feet. He's better with striking, but we know that Ige can strike as well. Ige doesn't go for very many takedowns, but he can do them. He usually gets them about 30-ish% of the time. And Murphy, when he goes for a takedown, he's usually getting it half the time. So, I mean, this is a very close fight. Murphy's got a 2-inch height advantage, and he's got a slight 2-inch reach advantage. So, I mean, I could see this fight going either way. It's very close in the betting odds. Right now they have LaRon Murphy as a minus 195 favorite, and I think that's who's going to win the fight. But if Ige can really incorporate some wrestling and keep Murphy on his back, if his striking is that legit and it's affecting Dan Ige, I could see Ige winning the fight. But with that said, I'm going to go with LaRon Murphy. I just think he's more skilled, and with the extra height and the extra reach, I think that's going to be a problem for Dan Ige. However, wasn't a problem when he fought Diego Lopez. He put on a show. Lopez was definitely tired, and Ige was throwing some bombs. So never count out Dan Ige, but I'm going to go with LaRon Murphy. And I do underestimate Dan Ige a lot. I've never been high on him, but on this last fight, he earned my respect. And I kind of want to pick him here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go with LaRon Murphy. I can't talk also. My mouth is extremely dry right now. Next up in the co-main event of the evening in the UFC middleweight division, we have Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. A fight that I keep going back and forth between. I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, that this is a 5-round fight. I feel if Robert Whittaker can last past the first round, he has a very good shot at beating Khamzat Chimaev. I do believe that. Obviously, if this fight actually happens, we know what happens with Khamzat Chimaev fights, or at least is scheduled to fight. Either something weird happens and he fights somebody else at the last minute, or he pulls out of fights. I've never seen anybody pull out of fights more than Khamzat Chimaev. Shit happens, I get it, injuries happen, so I'm not going to hold that against him. But if this fight happens, if Robert Whittaker can go past the first round, even if it's a 3-round fight, but I want to say it's a 5-round fight, I do think he has a chance to beat Khamzat Chimaev. We know that Khamzat Chimaev is going to go for grappling. He's going to try to take Robert Whittaker down, but he also has some pretty good striking. I think he's fighting bigger guys now, and his striking won't be as legit in this division, though. When he was fighting at 170, trying to kill himself to make weight, essentially, I feel like his striking was more powerful in that division, but his chin should be better at 185. Robert Whittaker, we know Whittaker likes to go for takedowns every once in a while, but when Robert Whittaker gets a takedown as of late, when I've seen it, he doesn't really do anything with it. He just takes you down and the guy gets back up within like 30 seconds. That's what happened in his rematch against Adesanya. If he would have done stuff and held Izzy down, which Izzy, I know he squirms and gets back up. If he would have done some damage or something, he probably would have been the middleweight champion after that fight was over with. But in this fight, even though I love Robert Whittaker and my friend Walt loves Robert Whittaker, his favorite fighter, I'm actually going to pick Khamzat Chimaev to win the fight because I think his wrestling is going to be too much for Whittaker. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. I just think Khamzat's wrestling is a little bit higher up and on a different level, but I could be wrong. If it goes past the first round, things will get very interesting. If it goes past the third round, assuming it's a 5-round fight, which I think it is, then things are going to get very, very interesting. But I am going to pick Khamzat Chimaev to win. I just can't pick against him. No offense to Robert Whittaker, but I mean the height advantage, and I think he's still even a big middleweight, even though he came from 170. Well, he flip-flops, but he's a huge middleweight in my opinion. I think he's going to get the job done and beat Robert Whittaker. And next up in the main event of the evening for the UFC Featherweight Championship, we have the challenger and current bad motherfucker champion, Max Blessed Holloway, versus the current champion in his first title defense, Ilia Topuria. This is a really good fight. I like this fight a lot, and honestly, I go back and forth between this fight as well. Obviously, we know that Topuria just beat the GOAT, or one of the GOATs of the featherweight division in Alexander Volkanovski. And then we have Max Holloway, who, if you take out losses against Alexander Volkanovski, which 2 of them were we won't. They could have gone either way. And then a loss against Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway has beaten a lot of guys for a long time. Only 3 losses in like the last 10 years. 1 to Poirier and 2 to Volkanovski. He's coming off an amazing performance against Justin Gaethje, which I didn't think he had a shot in hell. Max Holloway looks really good at lightweight. The problem is this fight is at featherweight, which I think gives to Poirier the advantage. Obviously, we know that Holloway is going to have the height advantage. They have the same reach at 69 inches. We know there's going to be a lot of volume from Max Holloway. We know his striking percentage is the highest on the card, 7.17, but a lot of that was due to the fight against Calvin Kattar, where Kattar didn't really do much at all. Poirier is good. Obviously, we know the blueprint to beat Holloway. Volkanovski in the third fight destroyed Holloway, but Holloway didn't go down. Will Max Holloway survive? Will Max Holloway's chin survive Ilia Topuria? I think it does. I'm going on a limb here. I think that somehow, some way, Max Holloway wins this fight. And most likely, I think we'll go to a decision. The longer it goes, I think Max Holloway has the advantage because he's been fighting in 5-round fights for a long time. And his performance against Justin Gaethje was great. Now, is Justin Gaethje the most technical fighter? No, but it was a fight that I didn't think that Holloway had a chance in. And I think if he watches and studies the fight he had against Volkanovski so he doesn't get dominated like he did in that fight, his fight against Dustin Poirier, where he was getting dominated in the first round, but Holloway was coming back in that fight, and it made it a lot closer than what it is. But I somehow think that Max Holloway beats Ilia Topuria and captures once again the UFC featherweight championship. It is a dual champion, the BMF champ and the featherweight champ. I don't know. I just see it going that way. I think Max Holloway is really good, and I like to doubt him a lot, and I'm not going to doubt him in this fight. I know Ilia Topuria, awesome fighter, pretty good at a lot of things in the UFC, but well-rounded fighter. I just think Holloway's going to win. So those are my predictions for UFC 308. So make sure that you come back to the channel. Certainly brag about me being wrong, because I need to be put in my place if I keep predicting these fights right. I've been doing pretty good through main events this year. I've only gotten 2 wrong thus far. I think 2 out of the 10. I don't remember how many pay-per-views there have been thus far, but there's been like 10 or 11 or something like that. I didn't give an official prediction for Pantoja versus Usyk, but I told people that Pantoja was going to win, even though it sounds like he didn't win, according to people that actually watched the fight, but I didn't actually watch it yet. I have not watched any of UFC 301 yet. I could, but I just haven't. But I've been doing pretty good. The only ones I've gotten wrong thus far this year, I predicted Merab to beat... I picked O'Malley to beat Dvalishvili. Got that one wrong. And then I also predicted Leon Edwards to beat Bilal Muhammad based off of their first fight. I was definitely wrong on that one. I kind of wanted Bilal to win when the fight started, so kind of happy. I think Bilal is one of the most underrated fighters, and he gets too much hate. I said it. I know people hate Bilal Muhammad, but I think he's really good. But anyway, you've heard my predictions. Now, just to reiterate, if you're a fan of this channel, if you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm and you like UFC fight reactions and UFC prediction videos, make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on UFC 308. What are your predictions? How crazy are my predictions? Leave all that in the comment section. Any fights that you want to see, future fight predictions, leave that in the comment section. And then last, but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.